It's great to be back. This is really terrific. We're having a nice time now, aren't we? I think the whole thing is going incredibly well.
Have you heard of Tilly Norwood? She's the hot new actress that Hollywood is raving about. Every director and producer is trying to work with her. So move over, Zendaya. There's a new actress in town that's going to be snatching up all the big roles. However, there is just one problem with Tilly Norwood, though. She's not an actress. And I don't mean that in the sense that she's bad, but in the sense that she's not real. Tilly Norwood is an AI-generated character created by Eline van der Velden, a Dutch comedian and producer. She developed Tilly through Particle 6 Group, a production company she founded 10 years ago, specifically through its AI division known as Sequoia. The philosophy behind developing Tilly, at least according to van der Velden, is that actors no longer have real star power and could easily be replaced with technology, considering audiences gravitate more towards characters and stories rather than celebrity names on the poster. There is some truth to this. Audiences will show up for Tom Holland playing Spider-Man, but not so much when he appears in movies like The Lost City of Z or The Current War. But the idea of just firing actors entirely and replacing them with AI is worse. By introducing Tilly Norwood, van der Velden isn't solving the issue of how little audiences value acting. Her suggestion with this development is that we keep making movies poorly, but do it cheaper by devaluing the worth of more creative roles. I mean, who needs the bathwater and the baby anyway? The idea of an AI actress isn't some novel concept, considering there was already a movie about this subject in 2002. Andrew Nichols' Simone is a sci-fi comedy about the titular AI created specifically to be an actress. Simone isn't created out of some desire for technological innovation, but out of desperation by the film director Victor trying to salvage his movie when an actress storms off the set. Maintaining Simone as a public figure becomes too much for Victor to handle, and attempts to sabotage her career with poor role choices and faking her death end up backfiring. The film has very little to say on the ethics of using this technology to replace people or humanity's relationship with artificial intelligence. It plays more like the idea for a sci-fi sitcom that would have fizzled out after one season on network television. Chalk it up to a limited understanding of this technology at the time, but it's easy to see how the idea of Tilly Norwood would be inspired by such a lackluster movie. A key difference between Simone and Tilly is that Simone was kept as an illusion in order to exist. The movie ends by keeping Simone active as an AI actress that everybody still believes is a real person, despite having never once seen her in person. With Tilly, however, the developers want you to know that Tilly is fake, but still act like she's Simone. But Tilly is no Simone, especially since Simone isn't a real AI being, but rather fashion model Rachel Roberts pretending to be an AI actress. And Roberts is far more talented. Tilly's first test of her acting abilities was in the AI-generated short film called AI Commissioner. All the characters who appear in it are AI-generated, all the voices are AI-generated, and the script was generated by ChatGPT. The 2-minute short is AI propaganda. The video is labeled as a sketch comedy, but its true purpose is a sales pitch. The AI-generated TV production staff speaks directly to the camera about how a TV studio was able to create new TV shows using an AI commissioner instead of their writers. What the AI pushes out includes shows like I Know What You Streamed Last Summer, proposed as an interactive thriller generated from your online history of streamed video and delivery orders. The other show mentioned is Britain's Got Breakdown, a game show where people with mental health issues compete for the grand prize of therapy. These TV show concepts would be funny as dystopian satire, serving as the media background noise of a British version of RoboCop. But that's not how they're presented here. There's a light, breezy tone to the short film that suggests the shows might be an absurd pitch, but as the video goes on, it becomes clear that the concept is meant to be taken seriously. The AI characters proudly boast that these shows were super cheap to make and didn't require much time to develop conceptually. There's also a joke about how the AI struggled with consent during romantic scenes and that the people using this AI just ignored that. I don't really get this joke. Like, what do they mean the AI struggled with consent? Was the AI pushing out rape scenes meant to be romantic? This is a very poorly delivered gag that I'm assuming is meant to mock how productions with sex scenes need to have intimacy coordinators. The idea that with your AI movies and TV shows, you won't need to worry about actors consenting to sex scenes or hiring coordinators to ensure those scenes don't damage the people performing them. You just tell AI to spit out as many sex scenes as you want, and the machine will have to do what you say, with none of your AI actors feeling uncomfortable about what you propose, and the possibility that a scene intended to be intimate comes off more like sexual abuse. For what seems like a gag meant to highlight cost effectiveness, it ends up being rather creepy. And it's especially creepy in how the video leans into how Tilly Norwood is going to star in these AI productions, as if her name means anything. Even the jokes that are not creepy are just bad. The sketch opens with a title card that says no humans or bears were harmed in the production of this film. So the implication is that we're likely going to see a bear somewhere in the video. And we do. It's during the scene where somebody talks about how AI shows are cheaper than the catering budget of the show The Bear. And if you look in the background during this shot, there's a giant plush bear. Do you get it? This is funny, according to AI. The final lines of the video joke about how AI is going to replace us and then argue that this technology is fine because it's not making reboots, even though the titles it came up with are just unfunny renamings of movies and TV shows that already exist. None of this video is funny or makes a suitable pitch for AI replacing our entertainment made by actual people. It features poorly written jokes, unbelievable human characters, and lacks any soul. And if you look at the comments under the video, it's all disgust, mockery, and confusion about how any of this is supposed to be comedic. The only other video on her channel is the music video Take the Lead, a music video that opens with a disclaimer that real people worked on it and another dumb joke about how animals weren't harmed. Once again, the video is poorly made propaganda. The whole music video features Tilly singing about how she's an important necessity and that you should pretend that she's just as good as any actress or singer. Here's how bad her lyrics are. Quote, "When they talk about me, they don't see the human spark, the creativity." I'm pretty sure people don't see any of that, Tilly, because you don't look all that human and you're not creative, especially with lyrics like this. It's the next evolution, can't you see? AI is not the enemy, it's the key. Yeah, I'm not sold on AI being an ally when it's coming from an AI in a shitty music video. There's even some lyrics that contradict themselves, like this section. "Behind the code, behind the light, I'm just a tool, I've got life." Which runs counter to this later section. "They say it's not real, that it's fake, but I am still human, make no mistake." So she admits she's a tool, but also wants to be seen as human. Not happening, sister. You're not a real celebrity, and even if you were, your music sucks. And once again, based on the comments, nobody liked this. But hey, this is just the start of Tilly Norwood's career. Her YouTube page is surely going to blow up soon. I mean, not now, though. Tilly has only been around for a little over a year, and her YouTube channel with 2 videos has only amassed less than a fifth of the subscribers that I currently have. Also, considering Tilly is marketed as an easily monetizable celebrity, her views aren't really generating the best revenue. Particle 6 has spent a lot of money trying to make this AI actress, and they're in too deep to turn back now. They can't admit that what they've spent many years and resources developing is a failure. They have no choice but to keep hyping up this product. This is why an essential element of making Tilly Norwood a believable actress is pretend. It's the same level of pretending that cryptocurrencies are just as good as the dollar and NFTs are just as good as physical works of art. The developers of Tilly want you to pretend that she is just as good as a human actress. The problem with this scheme, however, is that a lot of people fell for scams like cryptocurrencies and NFTs due to lack of information. Most people don't fully understand the inherent problems in technology, economics, and ownership that came with them. But Tilly is posing as an actress. Most audiences don't need to understand acting to grasp if a performance is terrible or unbelievable, considering how easily everybody gagged at her YouTube videos. Tilly was not hired for a role in the proposed movie Misaligned, as though she auditioned for the role and earned it over other human actors. She was placed in that movie because it was being made by the same company that created her. Nobody cast Tilly for the role, but isn't it fun to pretend she was? Isn't it fun to pretend that you're interviewing an actress and not speaking with an AI chatbot? Because that literally happened with Tilly Norwood. But even if all this sounds fun, playing pretend is more business than fun for AI developers. Compare interviewing Tilly to interviewing the Muppets. Sure, the Muppets are not real celebrities in the sense that they are puppets controlled by a puppeteer, but interviewers play along because it's, fun. It's not a real interview so much as it is a skit where you get to play along with the Muppets. Even the Muppets will gleefully mock the fourth wall of these interviews, willing to acknowledge their strings for the absurdity that can be had. However, the people who made Tilly don't want you to feel like you're interviewing the Muppets. They want you to feel like you're interviewing the next big star in Hollywood and not, taking part in an amateur roleplay of Max Headroom. Another aspect of the Muppets that makes them more entertaining is how the performers handle any mistakes. Most Muppet interviews are conducted the same way as a Muppet movie or TV show, with the puppeteers hidden. But even when the puppeteers accidentally mess up, they know how to roll with it and improvise. And that's why the outtakes of the Muppets are just as much fun to watch. Like, I especially enjoyed watching the outtakes from the Muppets at Disney World, where there must have been an arrangement that if any of the puppeteers mess up a line or choreography, like, they're allowed to hit each other.
Which would you
But based on Tilly's interviews, if the AI screws up and can't find a quick response, her image just distorts a little as she silently tries to generate an answer. An interview should be a conversation, and that conversation can be ruined if the person you're interviewing struggles to even speak for many seconds after a question is asked. At least with Max Headroom, as many glitches were funny, interviewing Tilly just seems awkwardly tiresome. Speaking personally, I have interviewed a few celebrities and I enjoy it quite a bit. I like talking with actors about their history, how they find the right voice, and what inspires them to give the best performance. What the fuck am I going to talk with an AI about? Which prompts are the hardest to deliver, or what it was like working with other AI programs? I just don't like that game of pretend, and I'm not going to play, no matter how much Particle 6 and Tech Bro sycophants keep insisting that Tilly is a real celebrity. However, Vandervelden seriously thinks that Tilly is going to take off. When she attended a summit at the Zurich Film Festival in September of 2025, she brought up how studios were embracing AI more and that Tilly is being considered by multiple talent agencies. When Deadline reported on this event and echoed Velden's words as accurate for the headline, there was heavy skepticism about this story, because it doesn't seem like any talent agency is interested in representing Tilly Norwood. Well, except for the production studio that made her and placed her in a film that they're making. Vandervelden might claim that Tilly is being taken seriously in Hollywood, but most people who work in Hollywood have the opposite opinion. C. Robert Cargill, the screenwriter on films like Doctor Strange and Black Phone, made a post on Bluesky about how nobody is taking Tilly seriously. She's not an actress who's going to replace real women and shake up the industry, considering she appears to be talked about in Hollywood as a joke, seen more as a laughable ad campaign than real competition. Tilly isn't going to take off because nobody wants to work with Tilly. Many actors have come out against this development and refused to recognize Tilly as an actress, including the Screen Actors Guild. And agencies like William Morris and the Gersh Agency have already made firm decisions that they're not going to be working with Tilly Norwood ever. They might have come to this smart decision on their own, or it might be because a number of actors said they would boycott any agency that signed Tilly. And with so many prominent voices and companies openly saying, no, Tilly Norwood is not happening, the fictitious person is going to have a hard time finding work. The only time people seem willing to buy the illusion of Tilly is to talk shit about her. Many online have stirred up rumors that Tilly is a pain in the ass to work with on set. It is very funny that forming celebrity gossip on Tilly is going to prevent her from succeeding in Hollywood. But I mean, what incentive is there to hire Tilly Norwood? Well, maybe her performance will be so good that your movie will get nominated for a major award. Except, no, it won't. The BAFTAs have already confirmed that an AI-generated character cannot be nominated for awards because they do not fit the criteria. And why would it? Like, you know that bit at the 2002 Oscar ceremony where the nominations for Best Animated Feature Film would cut to CGI renderings of Shrek and Jimmy Neutron sitting in the audience? The ceremony wasn't being serious about that. It was a joke. When 2001's Shrek won the Oscar, Shrek and Donkey did not take to the stage. It was the producer. The producer accepted the award because Shrek isn't real. He's a character. He's not a person who is getting signed to a talent agency. Shrek is not in talks to have a supporting role in the next Yorgos Lanthimos movie. He's a cartoon ogre, and while he might have layers, he doesn't have a contract and cannot win awards based on the rules. I really wish that Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within was nominated for that ceremony. Not because it's a particularly good film, but because it would have been the peak of embarrassment to have the film's protagonist appearing at the Academy Awards. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Aki Ross was framed not just as the CGI hero for Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, but she was also marketed as the first virtual actress for how photorealistic she looked in the movie. There was this whole campaign to make her believable as one of the sexiest women in Hollywood. I'm not kidding. She appeared in a bikini in Maxim magazine, ranking among the Hot 100 list. She wasn't ranked at the top of the list, but she wasn't at the bottom either. And can you imagine how horrible all the women below that rank must feel? Do you know how fucked up it is that a magazine thinks you're less beautiful than a fucking cartoon character who doesn't exist? This is such a stupid idea. Aki Ross, as noted by some journalists, is an apt comparison for Tilly Norwood. It was speculated that Aki Ross would be cast in more movies after her big debut in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. Unfortunately, not many people liked that movie. It didn't make much money at the box office, it led to the quick death of Square's movie division, and none of the speculation for Aki Ross's fame ever happened. She never got her chance to appear in the Polar Express. And I think the same fate will befall Tilly Norwood, only way funnier. Because Aki Ross was more of a silly experiment that only had any traction because too many people were salivating over new technology at the time. Seriously, there was an age where the talk of the town was the fur in Monsters Incorporated and the water in Finding Nemo. But now there are big names and organizations actively against the idea of Tilly Norwood. Some movie productions even boast about how much they don't use AI. Generative AI developers have created a technology so grotesque that it's now a mark of pride and quality not to use it. Nobody wants to work with Tilly as her very existence threatens the industry in ways that will screw over talent and drain quality from the medium. It's very idiotic that Van der Velden claims that Tilly is not a replacement for real actresses and that she'll end up creating more jobs in the industry. while also saying that hiring Tilly will severely reduce how much money needs to be spent on movies. And how is that going to happen, Vandervelden? What specifically will have to be cut from movie budgets to warrant Tilly's usage? Tilly Norwood is an AI development that is not appealing on an artistic level, considering how many people with artistic talent are against this concept. It's only really appealing to business people because the whole pitch is saying, look how little time and money it took to produce movies and television. Or, to put it another way, look how many people I didn't have to hire. The fact that an overwhelming amount of audiences and creatives have rejected Tilly should be a sign to stop this project. But the developers don't see it that way. So much of AI is not propped up by its viability, but by propaganda. The idea is that this unsustainable framework, which produces lackluster results, is just one more innovation away from being the next big thing. And while you wait to see if that actually happens, companies are willing to dump an absurd amount of money and resources into the very low possibility that there's a future where studios won't have to pay anybody but the people who maintain the machines. For this topic, I tried to find some books on artificial intelligence that weren't just praising it or explaining the mechanics, but actually talking about the ethics of this technology. One book that looked intriguing at first glance was The Future of Truth by Steven Rosenbaum. The book does bring up the ethical concerns of AI being used in art, but doesn't really dig much into the subject. Rosenbaum just presents a few examples of AI development and says it's an ongoing debate about how art will be recognized in the future. I later discovered that Rosenbaum had used AI when making the book, and it's loaded with misquotes and completely fake quotes. It is so absurd and sad that a book talking about the pros and cons of generative AI ends up proving a lot of the cons by the very nature of how it was written. Look, I know that AI is everywhere these days, and with such a heavy campaign and stupid amounts of money being dumped into its development, it's easy to feel like AI has already won. Maybe you saw the headline of Tilly Norwood being considered by acting agencies and thought to yourself, oh no, it's all over. The machines have taken over the entertainment industry and there's nothing we can do to stop them. And if you have that mindset, you need to cut that shit out, because the AI developers would prefer you think that. If you've already rolled over and just accepted that AI is going to overtake every job, it means that companies don't have to try as hard to convince you that generative AI is here to stay and that every industry should just be using it in some capacity. Like, think about it. If AI really is the unavoidable wave of the future, why do so many have to keep lying about it? Why does Tilly Norwood need to appear in 2 YouTube videos that are essentially defending her existence instead of proving her worth as an actress in a narrative role? Why are there so many propaganda articles written by those defending AI as an essential tool that we'll need in the future? Why are companies throttling AI usage to prove its viability, that it wasn't just a massive waste of money? Why does AI need many data centers and resources to even function, let alone improve? If the AI defenders have to try this hard to convince you that AI is going to be a necessity, then it really seems like it won't be that. The more honest reviews on artificial intelligence reveal a tool that often breaks, spits out errors, and uses far too many resources to ever be a financially viable alternative. The idea that AI can be sustained in its current state and used to entirely replace the movie-making process is a fantasy. The resources required to make it work are too demanding, the ethics behind it will garner disgust, and the quality is too uncanny valley to ever be seen as believable for those looking more at the screen than the bottom line. Thinking that these problems are more minor than critical is to play pretend. And while the tech bros can play with their expensive Tilly Norwood doll and pretend it's a real person that can star in blockbuster movies, that doesn't mean everybody else is going to play pretend with them. Tilly Norwood is not going to be the next big thing in Hollywood. No agency wants to work with her. No celebrities are endorsing her, and audiences are not clamoring for her to grace the big screen. She can't be nominated for a BAFTA, and she's not going to appear at the Oscars, because Tilly Norwood is not a real actress.
Enter Guido. And this is Max Headroom. Hi.
Hi.
Ah, a new cocologist. Welcome.
He can see us.
Where there's a wave, there's a Coke.
It's okay.
Okay. It's great. More people prefer the new refreshing taste of Coke over Pepsi. It's true.
What are you watching?
An educational program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Catch the wave.